Like the Force, Star Wars News Net live here on Thursday night. Welcome into Star Wars News Net live, your one-stop shop for everything Star Wars, because we cover everything. And tonight we will be covering none other than, I'm gonna guess you've seen it, the trailer for Maul Shadow Lord, because we have real Star Wars in front of our faces to talk about this evening. My name is Tyler, always here every Thursday night, and I am joined by my good friend Tom and Master Ground Sitter himself, my good friend Luke. How are we doing this evening? What are the vibes? I want right now, you guys to tell me right now an answer, yes or no. Does Dave Filoni hate Andor? Tom. I'm just kidding. We're not gonna go down that rabbit hole. It's a joke.
I have comments, but I'll save them.
But how you doing, Tom?
I'm doing great. I mean, great to basically wake up to a new Star Wars trailer for a character that I really, really enjoy and want to see more of. So,
Tom, are you telling me that you woke up at noon today?
I think I'm still on Pacific time, but yeah. So no, I mean, anyway, it was a great lunch treat to actually at my lunch break to see that the trailer dropped, and very exciting. I know we're going to go into it and talk more about it today.
Yes, Luke, how are you? It's been a while since I've seen you because you haven't been on the live show. It's been a couple weeks since I've seen you. We haven't had a chance still to record our next timeline. I believe, there's been a few memes exchanged between the two of us over the last couple of weeks, but it's good to see your face.
It's good to be back here. Life is very good. It's busy. I'm leading a small group at the church, so I just got done with that tonight. Interesting, nice. Taking a little bit more leadership role in a couple of different places in my life. So busy. Expectations are rising, but
Church of the Wills.
Church of the Force on Jedi, actually.
Are you a guardian of the Wills, Luke?
I'm more of a Brotherhood of the Ninth Door, if you catch my drift. I'm completely joking. I definitely would not be.
Oh my gosh, that's a great little comment. So fun plug. I was able to appear on another podcast this week called Reckless Rebellion. It was really fun. We talked about all the Kathleen Kennedy exit interview, like all of that good stuff. So go check that out with them. It was really fun. But there's one of the guys that hosts that. His name's Thomas. He's actually from Florida. He's a huge High Republic person. So like I mentioned how much I loved the High Republic, and his ears perked up. And it's just really fun. You mentioned like Brother of the Ninth Door stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, how many people like just really know exactly what you were trying to convey through that, like just one line right there. Like, I don't know. I just can't imagine many individuals are connecting this. But again, yeah, this is a fun plug. If we record that on Wednesday. It came out this morning. So yes, go check out the Reckless Rebellion podcast, and we retweeted it out there on our Star Wars Newsnet account, on my personal Twitter account. I put that out there, but go check it out. It was like an hour and 40-minute conversation about Star Wars. So I think you'll enjoy it. We went through pretty much everything under the gambit, and a lot of my thoughts I had discussed here last week, but I was able to expand on a few more things. But Luke, I am always proud of you and the steps you are taking in your life.
Luke, do you see when you're not here, Tyler is seeing other podcasts?
Man, it's kind of weird how I'm the glue that keeps this whole thing together. Like, I can't believe that I have to be the one who really just reins us in and keeps Tyler from flying off the handle. And sorry, anyways, back to regularly scheduled programming. Tyler, take it away.
No, so we have Maul Shadow Lord to talk about, and I'm fascinated to hear what your guys' thoughts are, both on the trailer as we can speculate what's moving forward. I got my Maul little figure here with me today, just to do just some little moral support from our friend in the Sith, just to make sure that everything is well grounded. But I want to ask you guys real fast. It's been a little over a week now since Kathleen Kennedy's interview. We've had quite a lot of time to kind of sit with everything. And Luke, we haven't talked much. So I really wanted to ask you guys, after we've sat with this for a while, so quick question here before we segue into Maul Shadow Lord. If you had to pick one of the movie projects to move forward with, what is the movie you most want them to announce this year that's going into production? This is not a question of what is most likely, because I think we kind of know some things that are like most likely, but I really want to know personal, like what do you want, like as a Star Wars fan, like, personally here.
Okay, I'm gonna go with I want the first Kinberg movie to be announced. I and this will kind of tie into our big discussion we're having. Um, but the show that's coming out for Maul, he's a bad guy. And this show's all about him. I want something to counteract that. I would love a trilogy of the good guys winning, feeling like there's some real hope injected into the current day. I feel like Star Wars is such a massive hit because in '77 the world needed a win, and that's what Lucas gave them. I feel like I'm one of those people who could kind of just use a win. I want to see some, a small group of people who fight for good to actually overcome. So I want to see that in a trilogy format. Star Wars is amazing with trilogies. I want to see that.
Is almost synonymous. Trilogies and Star Wars kind of just go together in so many ways. Tom, what about you?
I don't want to feel like I'm stealing Luke's answer, but I was going to say the Kinberg film to find out and maybe get information about just kind of what the trilogy that is coming out is going to, how it's going to take shape. What is it going to be? Is it going to be, as we speculated last week, is it going to be continuing the story of Rey rather than having the standalone Rey film? Is this going to be the start of her story again? So I'm really excited about that. We were talking about it. And as Luke said, we want to see a series of films. We want to see a new story, a brand new, I guess, arc for a group of heroes. So that's the one I'm hoping that they announce by the end of the year. And then I'm sure by Celebration, we'll hopefully be getting more information.
I'll be honest, I'm less interested in the heroes of this new trilogy. I am way more interested in who the villain is going to be, because I think that Star Wars will be able to figure out the hero situation. But man, I just want a villain that just captivates audiences to where you are just really want to both see them on your screen as much as possible, but also you just cannot wait for them to be defeated. Star Wars is home to some of the most iconic villains of all time. Obviously, Darth Vader, probably the first and foremost villain that comes to mind when you think of that, probably maybe the most iconic ever. Palpatine is an incredible villain. Was it the right decision to bring him back in 9? I kind of think no, but at the same time, when you have a villain that iconic, I mean, we're about to talk about Maul for a while today. Talk about a character who was barely in the saga at all from a movie standpoint, but left such a lasting impact. And now we're having an entire show based around this character. I think about the High Republic and how Martian Rowe in these books is such a insanely fascinating character, full of depth, that was completely different from a lot of the other canon villains that we've seen in Star Wars. And as much as I love a lot of the Jedi and the heroes of the High Republic, it is in a lot of ways the story of Martian Rowe and his complete, failure and his fall. And I really want to see a villain that is unique and different than anything that we've experienced in a new era of Star Wars, that presents new challenges and just a different overall experience for us when we go to the movies. And I think that they are certainly capable of doing that. But I just really I think if Star Wars doesn't get its next big bad villain right, like if this is truly going to be a trilogy that's going to set them up through the 2030s, that villain to me is just as, if not more important than, the heroes. Think about like the Avengers and, just this build up to Thanos that existed to where you get to Infinity War and Endgame, and just how much you wanted more Thanos on your screen, but also you just could not wait to see how they were going to bring him down. Like that's really what I want from this next trilogy, is just, Darth Vader's not even in the originals very much. Like in the first movie, he's not on the screen a ton, but you just feel that presence so profoundly. I hope that is what the case is for the next three. Luke, with the Kimberg trilogy, are you hoping that it is a 10, 11, 12, continuation of the saga, something completely separate from it entirely, set pretty close after episode 9, set really far in the future of episode 9? Like, what are your hopes in terms of like what that timeline might look like?
I wouldn't want it to be a continuation of the saga. I like that we have stopped with 9 and we're going to have more stories later on in the timeline. But I don't need it to be a continuation of the saga. I'm not a hater of that, but I would love a 20-year gap, a 30-year gap where you can feel like there's a generation that has grown up already, and that's our main characters, is people who were just being born at the end of 9 or something like that. And so this new generation has grown up kind of free of Sith rule or Sith threat or even manipulation. Just kind of like a new, fresh cast of characters.
Yeah.
I'm kind of ready for a pretty good reset. I don't need a lot of legacy characters to come back. I'm ready for a pretty decent reset, honestly.
Tom, what about you in terms of this Kimberg trilogy that we think could possibly get announced this year? Like, timeline-wise, where are you hoping this fits?
It's funny because I've thought about that a lot, and I go back and forth because there is part of me, that nostalgic part, that wants it to be 10, 11, 12 to continue, but to also be its own thing, kind of like, I know how Lucas, his thing was making the movies as different as possible, and a lot of people threw shade at Force Awakens for kind of not so much reinventing, but like rebooting Star Wars in a way, like, kind of rebooting episode 4 and kind of sticking with that. And they brought out, I guess in the sequel trilogy, people say like mostly like they brought out a lot of the nostalgia. So I hope to avoid some of that, as much as I enjoy that too. So I would be fine if they just made it something totally different, a totally different offshoot sequel. It could be set, like you said, years in the future. But I wouldn't be hurt if they go with the 10, 11, 12. I don't think they will, but I think I would enjoy that either way. I mean, I want to see a new series, and of course, wherever it goes, they probably will reference things in the past, but they don't have to depend on them or lean on those. So, so I'm excited. I mean, I just want to know more about it. I want to know where it is and who's involved, and I'm really looking forward to getting that, probably some information this year on that. But I would say that this is if I was a betting man, I would say this is the movie or series of movies that will be announced next officially.
I might surprise you both with this. I've come around to the idea of 10, 11, 12. I've actually come around to that idea. I've been very anti that for a long time. Like, Luke knows that I've been saying that for a long time. I think that if they came out with an episode 10 and I would be able to get on board with it, depending on like a few things, like how far along are we? I kind of like the idea of a story set, 100 plus years after episode 9, and just having a complete blank slate. What does the galaxy look like 100 years removed from the Sith? Like, what does that look like? And knowing where Rey's Jedi Order maybe ultimately led. Like, imagine, when we have the prequels where in Phantom Menace, we see the end of the Jedi. I'm not saying this is like a new High Republic in a sense, but I would like to see kind of a Renaissance era of Star Wars in episode 10, similar like how the High Republic begins, where the Jedi are at the height of their power. Like, what does Rey's Jedi Order look like 100, 150 years at the height of its power, where the galaxy has largely forgotten about conflict, like that, a large scale war. And we've recovered so much from this. And, part of the great part of the High Republic is we know about the tragedy that does happen to the Jedi and the Sith. And that does kind of elevate everything that happens there, because what's going to happen eventually. But what if we had, a similar situation, this new iteration of everything, but we have no idea what is going to come next, where every decision that makes doesn't necessarily feel like fate, because we don't know the end result of the equation yet. Like, that equation is still being written, the answers are unknown to us, and you're completely setting yourself up to where you don't have to worry about continuity with what's going to come next. You can truly just go as bonkers as you want with that story. And I think you can weave in all the references to things from the past, and that I'm open to that. And then I'll be honest too, if they fully just kind of told me that Rey's Jedi Order, they've adapted that to episode 10, like, I would be perfectly fine with that. Set, like, kind of like Luke said, like, for me, it's like at least 10 to 15 years in the future, because I still would want to see Prime Rey at that point, and what the Jedi look like in the immediate aftermath of episode 9. So I'm open to a bunch of different
I do like your
variations of that.
episode 10 being 100 years removed, because I'm kind of good with, like, I don't think I need to see the rebuilding of the Jedi Order, that her, like, struggle and, like, putting it back together. I think I'm kind of good there for whatever reason. I think it would be interesting to see what that looks like 100 years into it. How well did she do? We'll figure that out when we can see how it's doing 100 years from the start point. Like, has it degraded? Has it been going well? I think that would be a much more interesting way to put our next, foot forward, is go for the fence.
Or you just go in, like you said, like she's established it. Like,
Yeah,
you guys, I mean,
yeah.
like the new Jedi Order books with Luke, like if you kind of just jump into those like legend stories, and the Order, he has built this Order up, like the Order exists, and if you just jumped in from that point in Legends lore, and he's got the Jedi Order, he's building it, he's done it its own way, it's a powerful, well-respected entity in the galaxy. Like, I would be perfectly fine if we skipped ahead and we just got to like experience all of that really fast, and we're trying to put the pieces together, and then over time you could create maybe a series or animated series, a book series that kind of fills in those gaps. Like, if you want to skip ahead, perfectly fine with that. I think that would make for a really exciting time.
Yeah, I mean, I really wanted to see Luke's story after Return of the Jedi before The Force Awakens, and see how he rebuilt the Order. I'm a big fan of those Jedi Order, what was it, Jedi Academy series that came out that are legends now. But I think that probably animation might be a better fit for that story, because I just feel like it would be. I mean, you can use Mark Hamill's voice. You can, you could do so much with that, rather than either recasting or like doing a deep fake or something like that. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. Yeah, we're getting a lot of good comments, guys. Thanks for your comments.
Absolutely. Manslayer stands with you, Tom. But Tom, you mentioned animation. Let's get into it. The Maul Shadow Lord trailer is here. We've been waiting for it for a little while now. We knew it was probably coming this month. Came out today. And oh my goodness, just a brief little synopsis of my kind of thoughts after watching this. It looks absolutely gorgeous. I love that we're getting that Clone Wars animation style, but with some twists to it, a little bit of changes here. It just feels so much more frenetic, so much more intense. And I am so excited that we're going to get a Maul POV story with an animation style and a tone that is going to match that. We got to meet some of the new characters that we're going to explore in this series. We found out that this will premiere on April 6th. And no, Luke, I'm probably not going to do a countdown for this one. I am so sorry, because I got another one going on, because we're 120 days away for the Mandalorian and Grogu. But we have April 6th to look forward to. And we only have 10 episodes of this series, which was a little bit interesting. I want to throw that question to you guys first. Actually, no, I'll ask you guys. Do you want to talk about, the episode number and some of the expectations we had for that and what we can expect moving forward? Or do you just want to dive into what we liked about the trailer first? I'll ask Tom. Tom he gets the final say because he's the OG.
Thank you. I don't know how to take that, but sure.
You were the original holder of the sacred text, Tom. You were there.
It's true.
Page turners, they were not.
Page turners.
Wisdom they held.
Sorry about that. I was getting a message. So where was I? First of all, the trailer looks amazing. Let's talk about that. Let's just jump into
Okay,
this.
Okay, go on the trailer. What was go ahead.
I had a really hectic day, so I didn't get a chance to look at some of the videos pulling it apart and everything, but it looked amazing. I mean, the look and feel, that's what, you miss that. We've had a bunch of live action shows, and that, like you said, that frenetic pace. First of all, the design is amazing with the poster, with the trailers, even the teaser for the teaser that came out was pretty amazing. But I thought the trailer was awesome. I love seeing Maul at this point because we don't know this story in between Clone Wars and where we saw him in Rebels, other than, I guess, some of the comics that came out. I don't know how much they're going to follow that. But the great thing is that he's this chaos agent right now where, he's not with the good guys. He's not with the bad guys. He's just this agent of chaos in the galaxy, running the underworld in some capacity. And I'm on board. I'm totally on board. I love that little audio cue of Duel of the Fates that they popped in there. The animation style looks fantastic. The lighting and texturing, it's the best thing I've seen, I think, out of Star Wars animation. And that's saying a lot because we've had some great things come out of Lucasfilm animation. So I think it looks amazing. You could tell I'm really pumped for it. I love this character. I love how they brought him back. I know it was kind of strange to a lot of people, but they did so much with him and they developed that character so far. And I'm just so excited to see Sam Witwer back.
Luke, what about you?
Yeah, that is exciting. Sam Witwer is legendary. Honestly, he does so many voices that you wouldn't even know. Maul being his best, so it is really exciting. It looks amazing. I like that there is like subtle flair to this that sets it apart from just like the exact animation they used for Bad Batch. It's got its own thing here, and I'm interested to see this. I feel like we have had a lot of Darth Maul considering what he started out as. And I will say, like, it's a little, awkward. I kind of like trying to piece together what I'm really landing on as far as like my thoughts for this show in general, because I was going to say, I have said before that it's like my 2026 most anticipated thing. I think I've said that on a couple shows prior. And the more I sit with it, the more I'm like,
I like that.
I don't know if we need more. Like, there's so much Darth Maul. There's so much. And I'm sure this is going to be an interesting show. But so do we know where it's ending? Because this isn't going to show. Okay.
We'll get into it later.
I'm not sure where this show is actually going to take us to. It's starting like right after Clone Wars, right? Pretty close after Clone Wars. I'm not sure where it ends. I haven't researched that yet.
So Luke, I want to tell you a couple things. Number one, like two things can be true. You can think that we don't really need more Darth Maul, like more Maul, but also still be super excited for the show because that's where I'm at. Yeah. Like when I'm really excited because I think this is just going to be S tier Star Wars animation. Just looking at the trailer, the way that the lightsabers were moving when he's launching it across and just slicing stormtroopers or TK troopers, whatever they were at the time, in half. And then you see him going toe to toe with plenty of like Inquisitor shots there. It just gives this, I almost said like visceral, like it just is so intense. And it just 100% screams that this show is different than what you've seen before. And that's what I'm really excited about, is that I really think we're going to get that darker tone from this. But, I've said this for a long time when we've talked about what is the next animation show going to be before we knew about Maul Shadow Lord. And I kept going back to probably some sort of Darth Maul something, because it just felt like this is the easiest, safest thing for them to do at this point in time. And don't hear what I'm, not saying, because sometimes I think people oh my goodness, you said it's the easiest, safest thing to do. Like, it's the wrong decision. No, I actually don't think that that's the wrong decision at all. I think in a year where Star Wars has, a lackluster movie campaign going on, a lot hinging on its final Disney Plus live action season that they have right now going on and coming out this year, maybe they did just need a really solid win in 2026, because it's going to be interesting to see what happens everywhere else. And when it comes to Darth Maul, you have a proven track record of just absolutely knocking it out of the ballpark each time. He's a fan favorite. You can't go wrong with Sam Witwer coming on stage at Celebration doing his thing, so I think that this was an easy win, an easy sell. This is something that people can get behind on while they kind of maybe figure out what the flagship show is going to be, that's going to give them another 3, 4, 5 seasons like the Bad Batch did. And we can get into the length of this, but I am really excited to see what Maul's journey looks like, because we are at an interesting place with him where he has, he's fallen and gotten back up so many times. And here he is, seeing the destiny fulfilled that Darth Sidious promised him, except he's not a part of it. He is now wanted by the Empire. They want him killed. And this is an empire that he knew was going to be formed for a long time. And at one point, his entire life's mission was to kill the Jedi and make sure the Empire was ready to be formed. And he's been doing that his whole life. And now we're at a position where the Empire exists. And I'm not sure Maul knows where he fits into this new world. So he's going to try to create this crime, syndicate, this crime lord version of himself, which we know is very successful given what we see in Solo, which takes place after this show. So I'm really curious to see how he gets to that point. But what are the motivations for him? Is it out of a desire to poke holes and attack the Empire itself? There was the quote from this that says, empires can be shattered. I'm wondering, is he on a vendetta against Sidious, against the Empire, because he's been shunned and shut out from what he thought his destiny was going to be? Is this going to turn into more of a self-preservation? The only way I can survive is to amass as much power around me as I can. There's another line from the trailer that I do want to highlight. It was, something about we survive, but do we live? We were made to suffer. We survive, but do we live? And is this show about him truly living like how he wants to live? And I'm curious to see what that POV is really going to be from him, because we've never really seen him in this place, because in the Clone Wars he's just hell-bent on revenge against Kenobi, and then we start to see how he's going to get to that point. And then in Rebels, he wants to bring Ezra on as an apprentice, but he's a ghost. The Inquisitors are still hunting for him, but he's lost all of that power that he once amassed. And we see his life end in a different point. So I'm really curious to see, what kind of Maul we get here.
Yeah,
I think true. With
having seen the rise of him amassing power in the Clone Wars, he gets all these syndicates, the Black Sun, all these syndicates, and then to see Rebels, he's kind of a significant part of Rebels for season 3 and 4. I feel like I can kind of fill in the middle that yes, he comes to power. We've seen Crimson Dawn is absolutely a force to be reckoned with in Solo, in the comics. it's interesting. We'll get to see like exactly what happens, and how he runs his own miniature empire within the empire. But I feel like I've kind of already like I've seen the beginning, I've seen the end. I don't know that I needed the middle, but it will certainly be interesting to see. It's going to look really good, but that's kind of like my take on it. Is like the more I sit with it, I don't know that I'm going to get like new information out of it. And this is really weird for me because I'm usually the guy championing every project, but I'm not tearing it down. It's just like I don't know if I like needed this.
So I disagree a little bit with you, Luke. I think this is going to be jam-packed with new information because we've never had Maul point of view for the most part. Like we never really get Maul point of view. We have a few moments in Clone Wars where we kind of see what he's going for, but at the same time, like it's through the lens of other Jedi as well. And we very rarely got to see just true Maul point of view. And I'm really curious what his thoughts and feelings are on what the state of the galaxy has become, the one that he knew was going to happen, but is it really what he thought it was going to be like? Like, I'm actually pretty curious to know the motivations behind, Crimson Dawn. For a long time, it's kind of like, he's just a bad dude. He wants to amass, power. He can't be in charge of the Empire anymore as Sidious's right-hand man. So he's just going to go lead his criminal underworld. Is that really all there is to it? Is there more there? I think, there's a lot of Sith lore that we could get into. I mean, I know you are familiar with Crimson Dawn, comics.
And I think, Maul himself knows a lot of Sith lore. He's probably one of the people who knows the most in the galaxy, honestly. We've seen that he was a very good student of Palpatine. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that could come there.
So I'm like, I think might actually see what he looks like with a true apprentice. Savage was an apprentice, but also his brother at the same time. So I don't know. I think there are a lot of new things we're going to explore, some familiar beats and familiar threads, sure, because we've been in this time period a lot, but at the same time, we're always in this time period through the lens of the good guys. We're not on this time period, the lens through the bad guys a ton.
Yeah, it is. That's why I find it so interesting. It's like we always talked about having a show that follows, a villain and seeing, and like I said, the way that they fleshed out his character has been so amazing through the animated series. And we've got to see that depth that, unfortunately, that we wanted in the Phantom Menace, but we didn't really get because that was not his role, really. He was kind of like a hired gun at that point. So it's very interesting to see. And I know Manslayer, he's my guy out there who's saying like showdown, because look, we've seen Maul fight Obi-Wan. We've seen Maul fight Qui-Gon. We've seen Maul fight the Emperor. We've seen Maul fight Ahsoka. Who's next? It has to be Vader. So I really want to see that showdown, because in Rebels, I know he knows who Vader is, and it sounds like that they tangled at one point. So I would love to see that. That fight would be really amazing.
Let me ask you this. This is not show related yet. I want to talk about Maul Vader. Don't you guys? No, maybe this is just. Maybe I'm not giving Maul enough credit. Don't you think Vader would just own this version of Maul? Like it wouldn't even be like this wouldn't even be close. I feel like he would wipe the floor with Maul. Like I don't know. I'm just
so maybe I mean, but I think
that's what it is.
Of Star Wars was the Emperor versus Maul and Savage Opress. Like I thought that was like so well done. So and he was basically. They had no chance, but it was just a very impressive and very exciting duel to watch. So I think this would be really could and it depends on how they do it,
Yeah, I agree.
It's funny though, because like most of them have beat up, have beat up Maul, but the duels are just amazing. I think Manslayer brought up the mocap that they did, and that really brought that Ahsoka Maul duel to life. So yeah, it depends on how they do it. It may not be the straight up duel. It may be like kind of like a, kind of the way like Rey fought Kylo Ren in Force Awakens, where it was all like around, like, in the forest and back and forth. And so it doesn't have to be a straight up duel. It could be something that you do it creatively. But I think there has to be some kind of showdown.
I would love to know it'd be interesting if Maul finds out somehow that Vader and Anakin are the same person. Like, is
Hmm.
that what really draws Vader in? Like, I would kind of love a story where Vader gets sent in. Vader comes into the picture not because he's just Palpatine's errand boy, and Palpatine is sick and tired of Maul, and so he's just like, "All right, Vader, just go in this dude for me, please." I would almost kind of like if Vader is getting wind that Maul is learning who he is and causing something nefarious there, making Vader's personal life a little more difficult by risking that possibly getting out, because like no one knows about that. And so I don't know. I kind of almost think I would like if Vader acted on his own accord, almost like I'm going to go seek him out to try to put a stop to this in a sense. I don't know. Something like that might be interesting. But let's talk about Devin, which is the Twi'lek that we see in the trailer, who is not quite as red Twi'lek as we originally thought. You can kind of see in throughout the trailer, she's more of like a pinkish hue, I think. So maybe the Darth like Talon, references or fan speculation is not quite accurate. Not that it ever was, but maybe it's not quite that. But we find out she's a former Padawan that's surviving here after Order 66. Do you guys think that this is going to be a locked in? She's going to try to listen and absorb what Maul has said and kind of put away what she's learned from the Jedi and adopt this Maul philosophy of you will survive through power and by whatever means necessary?
I don't think she's going to take heed to what he says. I think she'll be a more like stalwart Jedi where she's locked into what she's been taught, and that's how she's survived. Is because she's clung to her teaching. She knows the Jedi way is right, and that's what keeps her alive. And so, I think she'll kind of have maybe a Stockholm syndrome type of thing with Maul, where he is the one who captures her, keeps her alive, and so she has something to be thankful for him, that like he doesn't turn her over to the Empire. She'd be way worse off in empirical hands, but she's not loving where she's at right now either. So I think she'll have to grapple with the middle ground of, since he's being, he's kind of taking care of me, kind of imprisoning me. Does some of his advice have weight? Some of it doesn't. Where's the truth in what he's saying? He's deceitful. He plays dirty, but he's also like trying to amass power. So he does need my help. So he's doing all these things. I think there's a lot of nuance that comes with Maul. That's why this show exists, because there's a lot to play with. And so I think she's going to be our tool to extract the nuance from his character.
What about you, Tom?
Yeah, I take a different, I guess, I don't know, the way I don't know, because I feel like she's kind of the opposite story of Ezra, where Maul tried to lure Ezra in to be his apprentice, and Ezra had Kanan and all, the Ghost crew that were kind of with him, and they saw, like, I guess through Maul's, like, I guess, attempts to seduce him. So I feel maybe Devin doesn't have that, and who knows how far she would go. Now she's probably has so much trauma from I guess the aftermath of Order 66. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, she might be like maybe someone who's her faith is shaken after everything that's happened, and she unfortunately crosses paths with Maul, and now he begins to say things that maybe make sense to her, and maybe she didn't have everything, kind of destroyed her, the way she saw the world after the Jedi Order fell. So, yeah, so I saw it more that she might go fully dark. And of course, Maul is using her because he needs something. He needs the power. To have a Jedi, apprentice, what more could you want? Like, as far as, what enemy could stand against you, basically. So
he needs the power But so there's two things. But I also think Maul very clearly desires some sort of companionship. Like I think not like I'm not saying in a romantic way, but I mean, someone that is with him that he feels like isn't necessarily an equal, because Maul kind of forced his own brother into submission to him. But there is a level of he likes to have like a confidant, someone that is along for the ride. I think Maul has lived a lonely life, and you see him like whenever his brother kind of revives him and he gets there, like him and his brother are close. Maul mourns his brother tremendously. And then the next time we see Maul, he's trying to get Ahsoka to join him. Like he wants someone to come alongside him. Years later, we see, him do the same thing with Ezra. Like he clearly is interested, yes, to use someone for the power, but I also think there's a level of Maul that does yearn for that that relationship, to at least feel like not necessarily that he has a friend, but someone that he feels like he is close to in a way other than just, here's my people that I order around to go do my crime, for the Syndicate, for Crimson Dawn or whatever. I think there is a level of him. It's not friendship, and it's not saying it's like a friendship thing, but it's somewhere in between that line of friend and just the general that he's ordering around, to go collect, the dues from, whatever scavenger they have that's working for him on the brink. Like I think there is a innate desire for him to do that. And I think Devin maybe will finally fill that role. It will be interesting to see which direction they ultimately go here. I kind of lean with Tom. This is going to go more, she's going to accept this dark side, role, and we're going to see that relationship play out. And I kind of hope that they do something unexpected with that, because I think most people are going in thinking, oh, she's going to go the dark side and then tragically die. And Maul's going to be upset, or it's going to end. We're going to feel bad for this character. And it's going to be tragic. But I also am curious, Luke, if they are able to hold on to this light side. She's clinging to those morals and doesn't want to cross that line, because, she is torn apart from her entire foundation. She has nothing left of what used to be, other than, the lessons that were given to her. And what does someone, when they are faced in such crisis, what are they going to do? Like, are they going to be able to hold firm to their teachings and the way they were raised? Or are they going to slip into, these nefarious acts and get involved with, people and in ways of thinking that they shouldn't? Like, it's a fascinating, look here. And Star Wars always serves as a direct parallel to what's going on a lot of times in real life. And there are a lot of people that are younger, that are faced in challenging circumstances that we haven't seen before. And like, what do you turn to? What do you do next? And I can't wait to see kind of what direction Devin goes and how quickly she falls into either one of those categories, or if this is going to be a full like season long journey that she's on before she really, stakes her claim one way or the other. My question is, for you, Tom, then she has that blue lightsaber in the trailer. Is that lightsaber ultimately going to turn red before the season's over?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would be tempted to say yes, but we really don't know. Like, I don't know how long the series is going to run. Is this a one season thing? Is it going to be, are they going to have multiple seasons? So I think ultimately, like, obviously we don't see her during the Rebels era, which I don't think is that much further, right? It's like maybe 4 years or something, 5 years, maybe even a little bit longer than that. But we don't see her there, so I assume that she's not around anymore. So I don't know, but I feel like I'd be tempted to say yes, that she's going to bleed that crystal.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of cool things you can do in animation. They did that. We saw it on our screens in the Acolyte for the first time, but with the way the animation is, I think you could really make that a spectacle in a way that maybe is a little more difficult in a live action streaming show. Luke?
Man, I think the reason I gave my answer on what I think is even going to happen with Devin is I'm trying to cling to the light. I would like for there to be some character that is prominently in the show and like is good. Because all I can tell from the trailer, which I think it is a sign of a good trailer, that I can't tell what the show is all about, but it still looked interesting and cool and gets me, hooked in. So that's good. But I want there to be a good guy because it kind of feels like the show is predicated upon like, here's this bad guy, but he fights the Empire.
This show is not going to be for you, Luke, if that's what you're going in with, because
I'm trying to cling to like, there's got to be
Maul's the
someone
guy.
good here.
Maybe Devin can be like, so, and you're going to be cheering for her to stay good all season, and then when she ultimately like bleeds that crystal red and just slices the head off of the Jedi, and just she's going to slice the head off of that Jedi Master that we see. We shout out to like Coleman Trebor, I think was the other Jedi of that species we saw like in the prequels, and so I'm excited to see her journey to the dark side now even more, so that way you can fully embrace a darker show. But I really do think
I had Andor. I think I'm good.
We had Andor. So this is actually funny. I saw this tweet and it says, it said the concept of Luthen Rail learning that the leader of the Empire is a Sith Lord that shoots lightning out of his fingertips is sending me. Like just imagine the speech Luthen might have given if he knew that. Oh man, that's so good.
Fulcrum, I need you to distract Vader.
So Tom, you hit on something. Fulcrum, I need you to distract me. Tom, you hit on something really interesting, I thought, which was how long is this show going to last? Is this a one season, one and done? Is this a multi-season show? And I think like now we can kind of pivot into discussing, a little bit more into what that looks like. We could talk more about the trailer if we really want to. Obviously, there was some shots at the Pikes, some other underground syndicates that were working, and we see Maul is going to be manipulating them. There's a detective that's trying to capture him. It looks like he's trying to capture Maul. All very exciting, but 10 episodes, a little disappointed given that Bad Batch season 1 had 16 episodes. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, Maul show, come on, it's Darth Maul. Like you're telling me I have to have less episodes. Second thing is, I feel like they had 3 seasons of Bad Batch. Like they put out 3 seasons, and it was very quickly after the first we knew that there was a second season. I'm just curious, are they worried that less people are going to tune into Maul than they did Bad Batch season 1? And that's why we haven't heard more about like this being a multi-season show, because that would shock me if less people are interested in watching Maul Shadow Lord than they were Bad Batch season 1. I feel like Bad Batch season 1 was a steady climb from the beginning to season 3 versus Maul Shadow Lord. I had my cousin who has never watched Star Wars animation texted me today, like, can you send me a link to the chronological order of Clone Wars so I can watch that, because I saw the Maul Shadow Lord trailer and it looks sick and I want to watch that, but I want to know the lore like behind everything. So that's an example of the power that Maul has. When the Bad Batch came out, none of my friends or family that aren't really familiar with, they weren't texting me going like, hey, can you send me the link to the Clone Wars chronological order so I can get ready for this Bad Batch premiere? And I love the Bad Batch. No hate on the Bad Batch. Right. But, it makes me wonder, is this a one and done sort of thing? Like 10 episodes, this is what's going to tide you over for a while until we get to the 50th anniversary of Star Wars next year at Star Wars Celebration. They're like, here's the next animated, thing. I'm starting to wonder, but at the same time, this is Dave Filoni in charge of Lucasfilm now. He's been kind of slowly getting that way for a while. They were successfully able to keep a Book of Boba Fett show under wraps until 2 weeks before they started filming, and just drop that little post-credit scene at the end of The Mandalorian. So it's quite easily they can, just drop they've already been working on a second season and we just don't know it yet. But I'm curious what you guys think about the format, about the chances of it being a one and done or a multi-season show, and like what your preference might be.
Well, I'll say real quickly, I'm glad it's not. I was hoping it wasn't going to be like a Tales of the Jedi where there's like 3 or 4 episodes that were really short. We didn't really know anything about what the format was going to be. I assumed it was going to be a new, full length, like their other animated shows like Rebels and Clone Wars. I think it's going to be a 1-season show because I feel like that time period is very crowded with Maul's story. I feel like they could probably cover what they need to. And I think getting back to Luke's point about a show having the villain as the main character, I think that I don't know how far they can mine that, before before that the people are going to lose interest. I don't know if there's that much more of Maul's story to tell. As much as I would be there for it, I don't know how much. So I'd hope they'd be economical with it and, kind of let it be. If that's the length, that's good. Cause I didn't know we were going to get this. It will bridge between Clone Wars and Rebels. So I don't think they need like 2 seasons, 3 seasons of this. Especially given the length, like you said, 10 episodes. I didn't even realize that because I had a really hectic day. I didn't read all of the, the articles about it. But yeah, I think that it will be a one and done. That's just my one thing I do have to say, and I'm sorry to do this. I have a hard stop at 11 tonight, so I might have to drop off.
Okay.
So
no
just
worries.
so you guys know,
no worries.
Family stuff.
There is if Tom has to hop off, guys, it is the loss of communication does not just mean one thing in this instance. There is no invasion. It's not invasion.
CO Bibble doesn't know what he's talking
about. Hyperspace at 11 p.m. Eastern time.
Before I throw this to Luke, then Tom, since we only got you for a couple more minutes, is there anything else about the series, especially that you really want to discuss, talk about, mention?
I think what really blew me away was it just sounded like the writing was really tight. It I know it's only the teaser trailer. We only saw a little bit. I felt like I was all in, and the animation style is beautiful. Like I love, it reminds me what they can do in animation that is very hard to bring into it in live action. Like that's one thing I say. I feel like even watching Ahsoka, and I love Rosario Dawson, but like the way that they were able to articulate that character and the way she fought and everything in animation was just there's just something so beautiful about it. And this show looks like they're off to a great start. Like just, phenomenal. Just because I studied animation for a while, and just how beautiful some of the shots look like they're live action. The texture is so good, the lighting and everything. So I'm really excited just to see as a visual feast. I think it's going to be amazing.
I'm with you 100%. Luke, throw it to you here. I think you kind of put the nail on the head too about this. We don't want too much. Tyler, look this. I look dizzy. I'm like, so it's not dizzy. It's like I got this. I'm trying to figure out the right angle for my Millennium Falcon lamp I have over here, and it's just trying to figure out like the right angle, and then it throws me off. And
he has a schedule that if you heard his schedule, you'd be dizzy too.
I'm very tired. Yes, we grind out for Star Wars News on Live, but no, I want to go back to Luke though, who put kind of a perfect way of saying it. I felt like, which is, we don't really need Maul, but we don't want too much of Maul because he's so great in these smaller doses that if we have too much of him as a lead, it might get just a little bit overblown. We might, like kind of Manslayer put in this comment here of, we don't want him to be like a sweet guy or too sympathetic a figure.
Exactly.
He's meant to be despised. I mean, this is the same person who killed Duchess Satine for fun. Okay. This is not, we're not supposed to really, like Maul from that standpoint or feel too much empathy for this guy. Luke, where are you at? Do you think one and done is right here, or are you hoping for like a continuation, like 2 seasons, maybe like one more?
I would have to determine if it would need 2 seasons after I see this first one. Okay. I think, which boring answer, but I think I'm going to go with just like a 1 season type of thing. and you're totally right that like we're not supposed to see him as the main character. That's what media literacy is for, is like, oh, your main character does something, that must mean it's a good thing. That's not always the case. Okay. Like there's a lot of movies that prove that.
Listen,
what a wonderful example. So like it's I think I worry for like the massive amount of people that are gonna watch it and be like, man, so Maul is like kind of my hero. He's not a hero. I'm worried that there's going to be a lot of people that'll misunderstand
Maul's
like
so misunderstood
things. Like
he's like a tragic character, and I think
he totally is.
They compared him to, was it Tantalus? Just always pushing that rock. Sisyphus, sorry, pushing that rock up the hill and having it fall. And
for all eternity.
That's how Filoni, sees him, and I think we'll see more of that. He's like a tragic character, but there's something just so, to me, appealing about watching him unravel again and seeing how he's trying to get the power and the prestige and to be, to get his due, and see him always fail. I think it's interesting how they've done it, for my opinion, in the past. So I'm looking forward to more of that.
Awesome. Well, it's 11 o'clock, Tom. I don't want you to get in trouble.
Jump to hyperspace now.
We'll see you. We'll see you soon.
See you guys. Take care.
So, Luke, a couple more things here, and then we'll wrap it up here. We're gonna zoom in here. Let's zoom in, get the little close-ups for this last little bit here. But I want to know, like, where do you want Maul's story to end in Maul Shadow Lord? Because with only 10 episodes, and it taking place pretty much right after the Clone Wars is ended. I think they said maybe a year, maybe less. Like, this is still going to be really early into the time of the Empire. But there are so many little steps. Like, none of these characters that we saw in this trailer are people that we're familiar with from Maul's story. A lot of these people are brand new for this show. But we know that there's this time where he's at the height of Crimson Dawn. We know that there's a time where he's taking Kira under his wing after the events of Solo and teaching her all of this stuff about Sith lore and, his past and why he's on this personal mission that he's on. And then, of course, there's all the way up to Rebels when he has lost all of that. How close to that Rebels timeline, or how close to that Solo timeline do you think this show needs to go and will go?
I would kind of like this, and it's kind of, I guess, hard to do in only 10 episodes, but I would like to fill in whatever's left, because as much as I love Darth Maul, he's just the coolest character. I would like to see us like fill in what is left, like take us from the beginning of this show, which is going to be like near the end of the Clone Wars, end of Revenge of the Sith, and take us to Malachor, where he is like, maybe he's lost it all in episode 10, and what it leaves us with is, I've got one more chance to gain power, and it can be found on Malachor. Like there's a weapon out there that is like holds the key to my last chance. I've only got one thing left.
Take someone out, Okay. It's hard to think that it could get there in 10 episodes.
I think that's that's a bit of a reach, but
it's got to be 2 seasons, unless you do the whole, Andor season 2, thing where we're going to jump forward in time. Every few episodes, like we have 2 episodes, a week, like we're gonna have 2 episodes, or skip forward a while. I don't think they're going to do that, because they said it's such a serialized story and fast paced. I think it's going to take place over a shorter period of time, but that makes you wonder if they are opening the door for like future seasons with that, because there's a lot more stories they can tell. But me and you, like you and I, are massive protectors of the sacred timeline for books and comics. Like, we both very much are in that world, and there are a
little bit right here,
right? And there's a lot of Maul story that is played out in these comics. And I'm someone that doesn't like to just step on comics' toes and do away with all of that if we don't have to. And I'm also someone that believes that if the story is told there, it doesn't necessarily have to be repeated in a show to have more credibility. Like that comic doesn't need a movie or a show to recreate that scene or reimagine it for that comic to have any more validity as a canon event. So I 100% don't think we're necessarily going to see a lot of those scenes from the show, which leads me to kind of the final thing we'll talk about is these episodes. If it's only 10 episodes, they need to be longer than your 24-minute run-of-the-mill Bad Batch episode. I'm talking like the first 2 episodes, like the first one needs to be like an hour, or they need these episodes to be like 35, 40 minutes.
I was going to say 35 would be a pretty choice.
Like 35, 40 minutes. Really make sure you flesh this out. The finale should be like a good hour-long finale or something like that, because if you're giving freaking Bad Batch's premiere was an hour, like an hour.
I think it was 70 minutes.
It was so long, and
Yeah.
I love Bad Batch. Like I don't
It
want
was
anyone
really
to
good.
watch this and like think that I'm not a Bad Batch fan. Like go watch all the things I've done talking about Bad Batch on this show.
Oh,
It's one of
yes.
my favorite, experiences in Star Wars, because I went in thinking that I was watching this out of Star Wars obligation, and then I left that show yearning for
genuine
more
fan.
with those
Yeah.
characters because they told such a beautiful story. So I really hope that this isn't a 2 episodes a week for just 5 weeks. Like this is going to come and go so fast. And it kind of makes me sad too. It makes me wonder if this was going to be a longer show, they might have just stretched. They might have done like the 1 week or one every, 16 episodes, one every week, or 2 here and there, kind of like they did with Bad Batch. So I kind of lean one and done. I'm a little disappointed with, this is only 5 weeks long. It's basically you get or even 4 weeks, whatever it is, you get a month of Maul and then it's done. Like I don't love that. And I'm a little disappointed that they're doing it this way. I hope that the show, I think, is going to be incredible. I think that the show is going to be unique in that we've never seen something like this in Star Wars animation. So I'm really excited for it. I'm just a little disappointed in the lack of episodes and in the short timeline we're going to be absorbing all of it. Because remember Andor? Like just remember the 3 episodes a week, dude, and how incredible it was. And I do really appreciate the fact that we had that model of being able to watch the whole arc, but it came and went so fast. It was a month. So fast. I love the idea of being able to watch the Gorman Massacre episode and just sitting on that for an entire week before I can go watch Mon Mothma's speech. I feel like I would just be so much more revved up and ready to go. In these episodes, I truly do enjoy the 1 week model that we get. So I hope that they're solid episodes that are longer than your standard Bad Batch, Clone Wars episode.
I do as well. Because as I've sounded on this show, I am totally rooting for this. I'm going to have a very good time watching it. I want it to succeed because I want Star Wars to keep making shows, and that doesn't happen if this doesn't go well. So, yeah, I would love a little longer, but it does dump us. It drops us off in early May of 26, and guess what? That's a really interesting landing point for that to leave us off on, because then a couple weeks later we have our theatrical release of The Mandalorian and Grogu. So it's interesting that it kind of it gives you a little something to really do at home to prepare for going to the movies, in case people needed an on-ramp to oh my gosh, I haven't watched Star Wars in a year or two, and I'm checking into this, the movie's coming out, I'm gonna get my tickets. It might really get some good synergy, not that the projects are related, which I think it's a really good thing they're not. It's just a really good thing to get people going, okay, yeah, Star Wars is back, it's kicking butt, and I'm gonna go to the theaters and see this.
I'm gonna disagree, because I think that the animation audience is so loyal. Like people that are tuning in for
sweeping the nation
animation, Star Wars, whoever's tuning into Star Wars and Lucasfilm Animation, for the most part, probably had their Mando and Grogu tickets already in the back of their mind, ready to go. They're pretty aware.
That might be true.
My thing is that they always every May 4th for a while have dropped something animation like on May 4th for the most part. So I think that this being released on May 4th, like the finale, that's going to be our special like thing for May 4th. Like that's what it is, which is great.
Finale.
Like it's going to be wonderful, but I'm excited for it. Manslayer says if Star Wars someday makes a 40 to 50 minute animated episode in a show, it'd be the first time I think like everywhere. I mean, we've had episodes that were that long. Like the Bad Batch premiere was really long. If it was every episode being that long, that would be, a little bit of a different story. So I'm saying for this show, I'm like, it'd be nice if it was longer than 20 minutes if we're only getting 10, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm excited. I believe this will be one season, and it will kind of give them this year where similar to Mando and Grogu, like they just had to throw a movie together to put something out there. I think this was there was a lot of hard work that went into obviously both, but this one I think is going to resonate with fans a little bit more, but also set people up for getting really excited for Star Wars 50 is what I'm calling it, celebration. 2027, which is the 50 year, and I imagine they're going to have a pretty big Star Wars animated show that they're going to announce for that event.
Our next ongoing series. I think that would be a cool launch for, our next, like, we're planning on multiple seasons. We're going to just tell you that from the jump, like, let's do it. So yeah, I think this is an amazing holdover. Like the fact that we're getting a 10 episode Maul show is cool. Like it doesn't need to be 4 seasons. I think the next show is going to be right around the corner and awesome. Star Wars 50.
So there was a question earlier about the merch, and I'm really excited to get some merch like released for this to see what might be out there. And Maul merch is always good merch. Manslayer, I don't think so. He said, is there a chance that Bad Batch Maul shows are like preparing for an Avengers animated movie? I would love for an animated movie again, like from Star Wars. I would love one. I think that they have proven that they are killing it. Like it'd be great to have one someday, but maybe not right now. I don't think the timing is right. So Luke, I want to start a new tradition. Are you okay with that? I'm gonna start a new tradition.
I love new traditions.
So when I was on, I had the privilege, of going on Reckless Rebellion's podcast, and they do a special tradition at the end of every episode. And I'm like, I like those guys, and we had a good time, and we're gonna steal their tradition, and we're going to add it into the live show. I think ultimately this is like a sign of respect to like what they do. And I'm like, you know what? I think this makes a lot of sense. And they just say, we're going to open it up. I want what are your personal recommendations for people to go check out? This is like non-Star Wars related. Like, is there a show you're watching, books you're reading, movie you've seen recently, video games, like anything that you would recommend in the Luke sphere right now? It can be whatever. So I just want to ask you that question. I think it'd be fun if we incorporate that tradition into our world here at Star Wars Newsnet as well. And I'm curious what you would recommend to the audience right now.
I do really like this. This is really cool. So I'm gonna say kind of off the wall, super niche. And I've mentioned it before. I think it's been a while. It's called She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. There was a reboot of it that came out in 2016. My wife and I have been watching the original 1985 cartoon.
That's awesome.
And that has been super cheesy, really funny to like laugh at and with both, because I mean it's the 85 show, so it's really dated and it really shows. But the 2016 reboot is genuinely like, I really want to recommend that show. That's a very good show. And it's just on Netflix, 5 seasons. So my wife showed that to me. I had no idea what that was before she came into my life. And now I really like that show. It's a really interesting take on the Chosen One prophecy type of thing, which Star Wars is as a fan of Star Wars, everybody should be very familiar with the Chosen One prophecy. I think it's a really interesting take on that type of trope. So it has
Does
stuff for you as a
Manslayer's
Star Wars
comment
fan. What'd you say?
Does Manslayer's comment mean anything to you here? It says, Lucy Lawless. Is that like is it actor
That
or
might be
writer?
a voice actor, but I
Voice actor.
actually don't know the show deeply enough to know. So
Okay.
I'll see.
Do some
As you're
research,
talking,
do some-
I'll look it up.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Manslayer, if you know the answer to that as well, drop that in. So I love that. I love hearing yours. My recommendation for this week, I will keep it the same as it was on Reckless Rebellions, but I'll narrow it down just a little bit because I went a little more broad there because that was probably my only appearance on there for right now. Like we talked, they'd love to have me back and I'd love to be back. So, but I would say, how much I love Star Trek. I just would say I just finally caught up on Strange New Worlds latest season, and it was so good. Season 3, I love Strange New Worlds. It is one of my favorite shows ever, not just Star Trek shows. It's one of my favorite shows ever. I recommend it to anyone that likes sci-fi. And if you're even remotely interested in getting into Star Trek, but you are overwhelmed by the amount of Star Trek there is, then Strange New Worlds is a wonderful place to start because it's like modern Trek with that infusion of like the classic Trek that you might that makes it special. And also the thing to know about Star Trek is that it's not even remotely close to Star Wars in terms of the sanctity of the timeline. Like Star Trek does things all the time that can contradict the timeline, and you just kind of go with it. You make it work, or they'll introduce something in an episode and then just never talk about it again. Like there was an episode from Star Trek Next Generation about how warp drive and using the same routes, these like trade routes, are going through warp in this area, which for those of you who are even remotely interested in this, warp drive is essentially hyperspace, is basically it's like their version of hyperspace. And it said like if you go to warp too much, it like degrades space and causes like fractures in space. And there's like a whole planet that was like basically destroyed because of this. And that happened in one episode. Never visited. Like it's like never revisited. Like again, they're like, yeah, maybe that was a bad idea, and like they don't talk about this again. We've been traveling at war for hundreds of years now, and no problems. So Manslayer, in the chat, I want you to drop what like Star Trek did you try? Because if you tell me what you tried, I can kind of maybe point you the right direction. Because a lot of classic Star Trek, the first season is very rough. And like you have to kind of get through it. It's very generic and maybe a little bland because a lot of classic TV was like that because they had the luxury of like, we're having 26 episodes, for this season of television. And yeah, okay, you tried the original. Okay, yeah. I mean, that was made like 60 years ago. So I would never recommend the original series to someone trying to get brand new into it right now, unless they just love retro TV. Like I would recommend something else probably, and then you go back and watch that if you're like actually into it. So Manslayer, maybe give Strange New Worlds a try. I think you might enjoy that a little bit more. And if I can give you more suggestions. But also the other show I am watching is Starfleet Academy, which is the new Star Trek show that just came out. And this is this show I think I watched the first 2 episodes, really solid, really enjoying it. And I think that I'm excited to see where it's going to go. One thing that, and this is me just kind of rambling about Star Trek at this point, Luke, but I think it's important to say, and I want to get your even take on this. I don't want to go crazy political and stuff, but I'm really sick and tired of the individuals that will see anything like that reflects diversity in Star Trek, and the people that have weaponized DEI to the point where they're trying to use that as some negative thing that is a reason why I shouldn't even watch the show because it's not Star Trek and it's not what I care about. And they do that for a lot of things. And I've seen so much of that like hate centered around Starfleet Academy simply because this show, like Luke, takes place hundreds, 600 years in the future from most of the main Star Trek timeline. And maybe 700 years from the main, like from where it originated. Anyway, probably like 700 years. Yeah. Because it's like 29th century Star Wars at this, or Star Trek at this point. And anyway, all that to say, and that there's a main thing I've seen is there is a species that's they don't believe should exist because one is manufactured and one is like Klingon, and I'm like, okay, it's been hundreds of years, maybe they figured out a way. Like, come on, like it's one of those things. Or the whole we're casting people for the sake of diversity rather than merit. I'm like, I'm so sick of those conversations. So stay offline is my recommendation. Go watch the shows that you want to watch and just, enjoy them without having, an algorithm tell you why you need to hate something. And so, like Starfleet Academy, go check it out. I'm really enjoying it. It's mixing in some of my favorite characters of all time with, the new blend of new Trek. And I think it's really good. You got Holly Hunter is in this as the captain. There's a lot of good stuff there. So anything. Are you... We'll just stay there right there. They're right there. Anything else, Luke? Are you reading anything right now?
Tomorrow I'll hit the halfway point of the final Dune book that I'm trying to get through, and then I will be moving on to a bunch of Star Wars books that I've skipped over. A lot of staple Star Wars books like Thrawn Ascendancy, Aftermath, a lot of stuff like that. That I was like, really, honestly, like a core Star Wars book that I somehow have just avoided thus far. And so 2026, I'm hitting the major ones.
Well, if you want to wait till I see you, hopefully in March, I can just pass the entire Ascendancy trilogy to you if you want to just have it. Like I have them all. So
I have the Ascendancy trilogy that was gifted to me Christmas of 24.
Okay.
So I need to really read those on my. They've been collecting dust, unfortunately.
I've been trying to finish reading Rebel Rising for 4 months now.
Dude, that's how
I'm like 80% of the way there. Yeah. And I just kind of get up. It's like ever since Trials of the Jedi, there hasn't been a Star Wars book I picked up that I just couldn't put down. My dad finally started reading Trials of the Jedi. And because he was trying to read through all the High Republic like novels, he was trying to listen or read to all of them.
Yeah.
And then do it again. And then he kind of got tired of like waiting for a book to be in the library or, to go buy one. So he's like, you know what, I'm doing it. And sure enough, I'm like, I need to check in with him because he was like 70 pages in or whatever. And he goes, where's the blade? Like, where's Porter Engle? And I'm like, I said the same thing to Luke when I was reading. And then sure enough, that one chapter just starts with the blade. And I'm like, just waiting for my dad to get to that point. But man, I can't wait to talk about Trials of the Jedi on the Timeline show. But anyway, dude. Luke, thanks for hopping on. This has been a fun time talking about Star Wars with you as always. Miss you. Love you. Looking forward to seeing you soon in the future. Everyone, check out Star Wars Newsnet for all of your Star Wars needs. Yes, we got Manslayer recommending The Way of the Peaceful Warriors is a cool book. I love that. So love a good recommendation from the audience here, from members of the audience. Anyone else want to send in their things that they are recommending? Go for it. Would love to know. But yeah, check out Star Wars Newsnet for all things Star Wars. Give us a follow here on YouTube. Subscribe here. Subscribe at Apple. Subscribe at Spotify at Star Wars Newsnet. At Star Wars Newsnet on all the social platforms. And then on TikTok, follow me at Star Wars Book Dude. I gave some more of my thoughts on the Maul trailer today. I do a Mando and Grogu countdown video every day. Probably going to post something very soon about some new action figures that I got just a couple days ago. I got to find a place. I'm running out of room, in here for everything. And just so it's gonna be tough. It'll be tough sledding. We have tough times over here. But everyone, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We will see you next week on 10 o'clock Eastern Time, Thursday night, Star Wars News Net Live. Be on the lookout for the next episode of the Timeline Show. And this is the replay, which is our Mandalorian Countdown Rewatch Show. So until next time, for Light and Life, remember, we're all still upset that we got chopped in half in The Phantom Menace.